Hello, guys. If you've been on our channel for a while, you would have been seeing our posts, but today is going to be a little different. We're starting to teach you the principles of business. And I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Mekify. Together with my wife, Ifi, we own this channel. But because I have business expertise, I've got two master's degrees, one in business. I work as a senior project manager. I also am a lecturer in business, as well as running several businesses on the side. So I have the background that allows me to teach business. So for our first topic in this series, I'm going to start with teaching about assets and liabilities. So, everybody out there, whether you're in business school, whether you're doing trading, whether you are doing services, you know that there are things that bring you money and there are things that take away money. In a layman's view, the things that bring you money, those are assets. The things that take away money from you, those are liabilities. So, assets are economic resources that bring you future value for your financial standing. So, your assets are the things that you have that you can convert to economic value in the future or even now. So let's talk about some of those things that will be your assets. One, you have cash in your bank, in your safe, in your wallet, or wherever you keep your cash. That is an asset because you can use it to create economic value. You have a land that is an asset that actually increases in value over time and brings you future economic value. For instance, you can use it to build, you can use the land to sell it and make money to do other things. Assets, in this case, allow you to create value for yourself, economic value for yourself. There are what is called tangible and intangible assets. Tangible assets are assets that you can see, you can feel, you can touch, and you can use them for your future economic value. For instance, if you have a car, it's an asset, but there are different classifications of assets. So a car is an asset that because it can bring you future economic value, it can take you from one place to the other. You can use it to do transportation by transporting other people. You can use it to transport goods. You can use it to do advertisement, paint it. You can also sell it to create value, but it's also able to depreciate. It's called depreciable asset. If you have furniture in your house, it's an asset because you can use it for future economic value. You can sell it tomorrow. You can use it to furnish your office. You can use it to furnish your home. Those are assets. But the assets that are best are assets that keep increasing in value. If you own a building, that is an asset. It also depreciates. But it's important that when you are making decisions, economic decisions about yourself, about your finances, about your life, that you are making economic decisions that will allow you to purchase assets more than purchasing things that are liabilities, which we're going to talk about further down the road. So when you go out there and you make economic decisions for your life, the first thing you should ask yourself, this thing that I'm acquiring, this thing that I want to buy, this thing that I want to bring to me, into my house, into my business, into my life, is it an asset? Even if it's an asset, does it depreciate too quickly? Will it bring economic value to me or will it not? So sometimes people look at getting credit card as, oh, I have a license to go and spend and do what I want. If you're a first time credit card, you know, issued to you and you have like 5,000, 10,000 limit on the credit card, some people see it as time to go and acquire and acquire and acquire. It's not a bad thing to use your credit card to make acquisitions. But the point is, are you acquiring an asset or are you acquiring a liability? These decisions matter in how you'll be able to repay the credit card. So, for instance, if you're working and you earn salaries and you use your credit card to go and buy things that are not going to bring economic value, like you go and eat in fancy restaurants, the money is gone. You go and buy fancy drinks, wine, and that, and you drink it because there are wines you can buy and keep over time, they create more economic value. But the ones you bought drinks and you drank it, you ate it, you just have bought shoes, bought clothes, and all those things. I'm not saying they're not going to bring economic value. For instance, if you are a model, if a fashion model, and you bought clothes and you get more fashion work, modeling work, that means you're bringing money in, and that clothing you bought becomes an economic resource that is yielding you money. That's an asset. But if you're not, you're just buying clothes just for wearing them occasionally, just to go out, and your wardrobe is full. You spent the 5,000 from the credit card to buy clothing, designer bags, designer shoes that you're just going to hang in your wardrobe. And then on a monthly basis, you're taking money from your salary to go and repay the credit card. You did not buy an asset, you bought liabilities. But if you took money from a credit card and you invested in an economic resource, say for instance, you don't have a job, but you got a credit card, or you got a credit card before you lost your job, you still have your full 5,000 credit limit or 10,000 credit limit, and you go out there and say, I don't have a job, but I can do Uber. And you take your 10,000, you take your 5,000, you go out there and buy a used car to start a business. What you just bought is an asset because that car is going to generate income for you. And as you generate income, you're using the income to pay off the credit card. You have the car and you're keeping the balance as profit. And you maintain your car, you keep maintaining your vehicle and your family with that income. What you have is an asset. And over time, you might even build more economic value where you take the money you've made from that single car to buy a second one, to buy a third one, then you're building your assets as those cars are going out to bring in economic value. It becomes an asset. If you took the money and just bought a fancy car to drive around town to show off to your friends to feel good, That is not an asset. What you just bought is a liability for you because you're paying back the credit card from income you're making not off of that asset. You can take a loan, which most people do, and buy a house as a mortgage. And you rent out a portion of that house that brings in economic value. That is an asset. And most properties, which are called fixed assets, those assets that you cannot move, land, houses, you cannot move them. They're called fixed assets. Many times they do increase in value, especially land. Buildings can increase in value as well. Those are good assets. Let's talk about liabilities. A liability is anything that you acquire or that you owe that you have to pay for. So when you take a credit card, that's a liability because you gotta, if you take money out of it, you have to pay it. So that is a payable. You're gonna be paying it back to whoever gave you the credit card. If you take or acquire an equipment that you don't need from borrowing money, you will pay back the cost of that acquisition while the thing you bought is not bringing any single economic value for you. So that is a liability. If you owe money to a bank, if you borrow from a friend, if you borrow from any organization, or your business borrows, those things that you need to pay back, they are liabilities. If you are acquiring physical things that will not bring a single economic value for you, or you're under peer pressure to look and feel and behave like the Joneses by just being the in guy, buying the latest thing. If you can afford it from your income, fantastic. But if you're borrowing money to acquire any of those liabilities, they are going to cost you economic value in the future. So they are not an economic resource, they are an economic waste. That's why they are a liability to you as an individual. Liabilities are not bad. It depends on how you use them. Liabilities are obligations that you owe outside. Like we talked about borrowing with a credit card. Now, for instance, most banks offer you a line of credit. If you take a line of credit from a bank and you used it to make an investment in an economic asset that brings in value, brings in income, that brings in more money than you need to pay off the line of credit, that is a good liability because you have the liability to pay back the line of credit, which is a liability, but you use that liability to acquire an economic asset, which is what will produce you economic value, will produce you money, will produce you income that you're going to use to pay off the line of credit. You are now doing a good job of using your liability. Liabilities are not one type of liability. There are current liabilities and there are long-term liabilities. Current assets are assets that you can realize the value within 1 year. Same way for liabilities. Liabilities are obligations that you need to fulfill within a year or less. You have to match your current liability to current asset so that your current asset is higher than your liability. So if you're making more money from the asset side, for instance, you used your credit card and bought a car for Uber, and your payment to the bank for the credit card is $300, but your Uber is making 4,000, 5,000, and you are able to pay more, like you pay 1,000 back to the bank and you still have 3,000 left after expenses. That's a good management of asset and liability. But if the obligation to pay is more than what the economic value generated from the asset is, that means the Uber is bringing in less money than you need to pay the credit card. It is not a good investment. So I am hoping that you've learned one or two things about assets and liabilities and how to make them work for you by using them to build your economic value. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our channel, like our videos. We're going to come live once in a while, talk about business. I'll be coming here at least once a week to talk about different things about business that will be helping people in the managing their own economic resources and learning that liabilities can be good, can be bad, but make sure you manage it so that you're generating more than the liability. Talk to you guys soon. I am going to talk to you in a very short while. We'll talk more about different topics. See you soon. Bye for now.